Hey everyone, it's Rami over here. Hope you're all doing well. Just making a video today, just talking about relationships these days and why I'm a traditionalist in a way. A lot of people have a hard time with the word traditionalist, and I don't like putting myself or other people in boxes. I don't like labels at all. But I guess I am quite traditional in the literal sense. I grew up in the Eastern European household. So I've grown up with very Eastern influences in the Western world. The problem that I have with relationships today, one of the biggest problems is that relationships are so disposable. And what I mean by that is, you know, and I do blame modern technology for that, to be honest. All of these apps that we're using nowadays, like Tinder, Bumble, and all this stuff where we're swiping left and right and looking at people in the human market, trade basically. Um, and it's not based on any substance. I mean, the first thing you're looking at is an image, let's be honest. So it's even a superficial kind of method. But when we're looking at these apps, where we're just swiping left and right, to find someone, I feel that instantly cheapens the value of a relationship. Just the journey that leads you towards a relationship, I feel, is kind of something that can strengthen it. So, for example, I mean, meeting someone that you've seen on the phone through a screen on an image with a few words underneath and swiping with your finger right, connecting with them, I don't feel is the best first impression of a relationship. Relationships are very disposable, and I've been surrounded by people that are willing to throw relationships down the drain. And as a matter of fact, I've spoken to quite a few people that already speak in future tense of the relationship not lasting. So they're just basically currently in a relationship for God knows what reason, but their long-term vision isn't marriage or kids. Their long-term vision is, I'm leaving this person until I find someone better. They're just a gap filler. And that's the issue is, that person that you're with could, be in your life, and you could get rid of them, and replacing them is as simple as swiping right and, meeting somebody for the first time and sleeping with them straight away. I mean, it's as simple as that. And that's why I feel that these apps cheapen relationships. And unfortunately, a lot of us here in the Western world, don't have a traditionalist mindset because we're not raised with that. We're not surrounded by that. Looking at relationships and looking at how they've evolved, I feel like we've evolved in a downward spiral. Looking at my parents' relationship is something that's actually pretty inspiring to me. But again, it's something that I think barely anybody would do these days. My parents are now divorced, but they've been divorced for a while, and they have a good friendship at the moment. My parents were having problems in a relationship for a very long time, but they decided to stick it out, and they stayed together to help that healthy family bond continue until my brother and I were grown up. And they did that for us. They sacrificed that for us. They had many issues in the relationship, but they just overlooked that, and they wanted to raise my brother and I in a stable family relationship. And that was a sacrifice that my parents made. And I'm sure many people from our parents' generation held on to relationships. They did everything to save relationships. They valued relationships because there was a journey that process through a relationship. Nowadays, there is no journey. There's just a phone app and there's swiping, and that's it. That's as far as your journey goes before you're with somebody. And again, people are like disposable razors. You use them a few times, they get worn out, you lose interest. The thing is, people get confident with the fact of knowing that people are so replaceable these days. Because human beings are part of a market chain. Human beings are literally part of a market where we are, in people's phones, and people are simply swiping at us left and right, like they're shopping at eBay, like they're shopping online. And the thing is, when you treat people that way, when we are simply objects that are being swiped at left and right and tapped and liked and all that stuff, it's hard to respect relationships. I'm a traditionalist with a traditionalist backdrop, and I'm quite proud of that. I value relationships. I intend to be married. I intend to have children. I intend to save a relationship. I don't want my partner to be replaceable. I want them to be the one. And I will fight to save a relationship that I feel is worth saving. And I won't have on the back of my mind that this person is replaceable. I will see how I could work with them and make things work. And I mean, look at divorce rates nowadays. It's, about 50%. Every 1 in 2 people are divorced. And relationships barely last these days. They're just so short lived. One of my biggest issues with the relationships is just connecting with girls and really seeing, unfortunately, how two-dimensional and shallow, and it's not only girls, the guys do it too, but I mean, obviously, from my perspective, I've had big problems with that because as a traditionalist, I find it hard connecting with people that are new age with relationships. They ask me if I've met girls on Tinder. I actually haven't. They ask me if I've slept with somebody from Tinder. I actually haven't. I try and meet people in the real world, but I also try to, find a girl that has that mindset where she's mature enough to respect what relationships are about, to embark on a journey with that person that she wants to be with, and to go through that journey together, to be willing to fight for the relationship, to be willing to hold on to it, to be willing to make it work. And I feel like people these days just do not have the patience for that. People these days, as I said, are used to disposable relationships. And that's why I think a lot of people are struggling these days. I've been on that boat too. I have the confidence that I could find the girl of my dreams. But unfortunately, being an Eastern boy in the Western world and having those Eastern traditions, but being surrounded by, people that are, in tune with the Western values of relationships, it's a clash. People don't go into relationships these days, unfortunately, with the intent of a future. They just do it to be here and now. It's all about the present. And that's not what I want. I want somebody that is thinking ahead, that will look at me and say, all right, I want to be with this guy. How are we going to get there? What am I willing to do to get there? And, let's work on this together to make it work, to get that goal of, being married and having children and being monogamous and being loyal and staying together till death do us part. Call me a romantic, but that's what I'm looking for. Peace out.